Hello, and welcome to Spiritual Becoming. I am your host, C.L. Christoffel, and today I would like to talk a bit about free will, the ability to choose good or evil. How do we reconcile ourselves with evil in the world? We understand that there are lots of people, lots of different ways to walk through the world. But why is it that some people rationalize the idea of hurting other people, of taking power over other people? I've vlogged about that idea in the past, about the idea of the cardinal sin being the want of power, the taking of power over other people. And I see that as the slippery slope toward evil. We look back oftentimes in our Western society, we think about the tree of knowledge, the garden of good and evil, the Garden of Eden, the idea of Ashara or Astarte, the goddess of the tree of wisdom. And with that wisdom, we have the knowledge of right and wrong, good and evil, and the free will to choose between those two things. And that the key then is the choice. The choice. We've been around for about 200,000 years now, and we have chosen many different ways to walk through the world together. Lots of different cultural ideas have come to the fore and come to the surface. But we have the idea that, in some of our writings, that the gods in the Rig Vedas or in the Old Testament or in Greco-Roman mythology or whatever, that the gods go to war, that this idea of conflict is natural. But it's only natural in us. I think in nature you don't see what we have anywhere but in humans. Being that we don't have an infinite amount of time to puzzle out all of the puzzles, because we ate of the tree of knowledge, not the tree of immortality, we can get lost, we can lose our way, we can make rash decisions. These rash decisions come up because we just don't have the time to puzzle out the puzzles. But we can also scapegoat our situation with free will and say, I was forced to do this, I was pushed to do this, I had to react to this other evil in the world. But each side of every war always says they're on the side of good or the side of right or the side of God. Even the Germans in World War II had belt buckles that said, God is on our side. Whose side is God on? Is God a God of wrath? Is God a God of peace? What is our idea then, ethically, as humans, about the morality taught to us through our religions? Why do I advocate for peace in the world? I advocate so much so for peace at this point that I don't even like to speak in terms of negatives if I can help it. I like the idea of what Mother Teresa said. I don't go to anti-war rallies, I go to pro-peace rallies. in all things moving toward the positive, opening doors toward the positive. We need to really look deeper into evil and into the idea of God doing evil, the gods doing evil, and how we legitimize it. Evil is stagnant and does not create. It's regressive. It dismantles. It disorders. It destroys. It's painful. Good is life-giving water, sustaining life, fresh and moving. It's the creative force of the universe. Good is progressive, building order out of chaos. Loving, forgiving, trustworthy, faithful, abiding, just, merciful, honest, pure. Why would we choose to do the opposite? Again, we blame. We say they started it. They did this. They had the audacity to live all of their lives on our oil fields. They had the audacity to think that they could live 40,000 years on our resources. I oftentimes think that we legitimize our behavior with just war theories, counting the numbers of children we kill versus the number of combatants we kill versus the number of potential people on our side, quote unquote, our side, that we save. And we do these mathematical games with ourselves. But when you really look at it, when you really think it through, it still is evil. We need to take a hard look at ourselves. Think in terms of the New Testament, the New Covenant. Christ was said to have come in order to change our idea of God from wrathful, from pitting culture against culture, into opening up love and grace and goodness and the opportunity for salvation to everyone. Thinking along those lines, thinking in those terms, doesn't work, because also in the New Testament you had zealots whose whole idea of a Christ was to have a warrior come down from heaven in armor and lead battles against the Romans and to oust them from the quote-unquote Holy Land. So Christians talk about the war for peace and being fierce in love. And they mix these silly metaphors all the time. And I've seen it recently in the churches I've attended. And I don't mix these metaphors. How then does evil help us to understand goodness? We cry out for mercy. Where do we cry out to? We cry out to each other. We cry out to people who have usurped power, people who have taken power, people who have had power thrust upon them, people who make war. We petition them. Please, don't go to war. We also practice forgiveness with understanding. We see the works of evil in the world and choose not to participate because of the idea that evil begets evil, that war begats war, that one injustice begats revenge until one of us stops. Is it a matter of education or lack of education? I know that there are leaders in our midst with their Ivy League educations who would advocate for war, who do advocate for war. For whatever reason, again, power grabs, family squabbles, whatever. We witness horror and then choose lives of service. Choose lives of helping those who have suffered and are suffering, as we perhaps have suffered. Perhaps it is only through real and true and honest suffering that one understands the plight of others, perhaps, but you would think through education that could be taught. But power teaches power. Just as abuse is passed down from generation to generation, the keeping, the holding on to of power and structures of power and institutions of power seem to be passed from family member to family member. We want very much to take care of our children. We want them to not be in want, but why does this struggle perhaps for resources, this struggle for land, this struggle continue? People want what they want. They want lovely things, they want nice things, soft things, safety. They want a place where their children are healthy and well. And they will fight for that. But who are they fighting against? Who is taking that from them? Who is taking too much of the resources? Who does not share? Who has been driven to war by famine? Who has been driven to war by pestilence? Who has been driven to war in our world today with global resources available to everyone? We have more food, we have more medicine, we have more space than we need. And yet there is war, there is want, there is the subjugation, one man over another, one woman over another. Some of us have chosen in the past not to participate at all, cloistering ourselves on mountaintops, studying, praying, fasting, worshiping. But even those cloisters don't keep the world safe. Our pain is useful. It reminds us of the pain of others. It reminds us of what it is to be free of pain. We think in terms of Nietzsche, there is only pleasure in pain, and that's what drives us to do good, to do evil. But there must be a place in time where we are wise enough and just enough and good enough to relinquish our stupid desire to have dominion over each other. What does a world of sharing look like? What does a world of goodness look like? What does a world without evil look like? We spend billions on war. What would it be like if we spent not on war, but on peace? What if our scientists worked for peace? What if our graduate schools worked for peace? What if our military bases were farms, were libraries, were ashrams? What if we taught our children to do with less? What if we did not amass wealth in the way that we do? What if we did make room for everyone? What would a world without war look like? And why are we too foolish to seek it?